So you want to grow a bonsai tree. Maybe you saw one somewhere, that impossibly old-looking little tree with thick cracked bark, and branches that twist like they've weathered 100 winters. Something about it pulled you in. What surprises most people is that look isn't coming from a special miniature species. It's not a baby tree stunted in a lab either. Pull this exact plant out of its pot and put it in open ground, and it grows to full, ordinary size. So today we will chat about what you need to know if you want one of your own. What bonsai actually is, which trees work and which don't, how your climate decides more than your taste does, and the first real steps to get started. Almost any woody plant can technically become a bonsai. It just needs real branches and roots that can handle being restricted. Some species work better than others though. The ones with naturally small leaves are easier to keep in proportion. That's why you'll see the same handful of species show up again and again once you start looking. So if it's not genetics, what is it? It's a slow combination of things. Regular pruning keeps the top growth in check. Wiring gently bends branches into the shape you want. Restricting the roots in a shallow pot does the heavy lifting. It slows the tree down. That pushes energy into a thicker trunk and denser branching instead of height. Over years, that adds up to something that looks like a full-grown tree, shrunk down to a fraction of its size. One detail trips a lot of people up. Leaves get smaller through repeated pruning, but flowers and fruit generally don't. So you'll sometimes see a bonsai with fruit that looks almost too big for the tree it's growing on. It's not a mistake. That's just how the plant works. This practice goes back much further than most people assume. And it didn't start in Japan. It started in China during the Qin dynasty. Gardeners noticed trees naturally dwarfed by harsh growing conditions and began recreating that look on purpose in shallow containers with carefully controlled watering. These early miniatures were called bonsai. Emperors and scholars prized them. It wasn't until around the 12th century that the practice reached Japan. There, Zen Buddhist monks reshaped it into the more disciplined, spiritual art form most people picture today. If you're starting out, keep in mind that some trees work better than others. Chinese elm, Fujian tea, and juniper all adapt well because their natural leaf size and growth habit already suit small-scale design. Chinese elm in particular is usually the one people recommend first. It's forgiving, and it responds well to pruning without a lot of fuss. One decision shapes your whole timeline more than anything else. It's also an easy one to get wrong. Growing from seeds sounds appealing, but it can take 5 to 10 years or more before you have anything that looks like a real bonsai. Most people, including experienced growers, start with nursery stock instead. Look for a young, healthy plant with a decent trunk and interesting branch structure already. That lets you start shaping it almost right away. You can have something presentable in 2 to 3 years. Honestly, most bonsai in North America start out as completely ordinary nursery plants before anyone's touched them with wire. This is a step that kills more beginner trees than anything else, and it has nothing to do with pruning skill. Your climate decides which species will actually survive outdoors, not your taste. In the US, that's measured by USDA hardiness zones. Basically a rough guide to how cold your area gets in winter, numbered from coldest to warmest. A juniper that's perfectly happy in Minnesota might stall out in Houston. A ficus that thrives in Orlando is going to struggle through a Portland winter. If you're in a colder zone, roughly 4 through 6, go with cold hardy species like Japanese yew, black pine, Shinpaku juniper, or Korean hornbeam. You'll still need to protect the pot during hard freezes. Zones 7 through 9 can grow most common bonsai species outdoors year-round without much trouble. Further south in zones 10 or 11, lean into heat-tolerant species like ficus, jade, and podocarpus. And while we're busting myths, let's get rid of one more. Indoor bonsai doesn't mean low-light bonsai. Even true indoor species like ficus, carmona, or jade still need intense light to actually thrive. No woody plant does well long-term on a dim shelf in a living room, no matter how well you water it. If you're keeping one indoors, you'll probably need a proper grow light, not just a spot near a window. So say you've picked your species and it suits your climate. What do you actually do first? Take the tree out of its nursery pot. Trim the roots back slightly. Position it, centered or a little off-center, in a shallow pot with good drainage. Pack soil in around the roots, and water it thoroughly to settle everything in. The soil itself matters more than people expect. It needs to drain freely, but still hold some moisture. That's why a lot of growers use a mix of akadama, pumice, and lava rock. Overwatering is honestly one of the biggest ways beginners lose their first tree. From there, it's ongoing. Structural pruning early on sets the basic shape. Regular maintenance pruning keeps it that way as the tree grows. Wire, usually aluminum or copper, lets you gently bend and position individual branches. It generally comes off after 3 to 6 months, sooner if it starts biting into the bark. None of this happens in one sitting. It's a slow, ongoing relationship with one plant. Honestly, that's part of the appeal. One more thing before we wrap up. Some bonsai in Japan have been alive for more than 1,000 years. There's a pine at the U.S. National Bonsai Museum called the Yamaki pine. It survived the bombing of Hiroshima in 1945. It's still growing today. It's a strange thing to sit with, that the small tree you start with this week could, if you take care of it, still be alive long after you're gone. That's exactly the kind of thing we love digging into on trees across the world. There's almost always more going on beneath the surface of a tree than people assume. Sometimes that's an ancient technique like this one. Sometimes it's just learning to tell two species apart on a walk. So if you're thinking about starting one, you're not starting with something exotic or fragile. You're starting with an ordinary tree and a very long, very patient conversation with it